Welcome to Connecting to Spirit. I'm your host, Lisa Brandis, and today I have a very special guest all the way from the USA, Julie Ryan, who is a psychic medium, a medical intuitive, and she can sense what medical conditions or illnesses a person has and facilitates the most incredible energetic transmissions and healings. She can also communicate with spirits both alive and those that have transitioned. So without any further ado, Julie, thank you so much for agreeing to come on my podcast. Welcome.
Thank you so much, Lisa. We've been going back and forth, and our teams have. And we were laughing before we started recording. I said, I feel like I know you. And you said the same thing. I've seen your name so much. So it's wonderful that the day has finally arrived.
It's so exciting. And, we were just talking about how nice it is to be able to connect since things have changed after the pandemic, to be able to now have all the technology that just allows us to connect in real time and be able to share a beautiful message with both of our audiences. So, Julie, tell us a little bit about your beginnings in terms of your spiritual development and how you got to the place that you're at now and what it is that you're doing with your work.
Okay. Well, I'm an inventor of surgical devices sold throughout the world and one of those crazy serial entrepreneurs. I've founded 9 companies in 5 industries. And I am a businesswoman who learned how to do woo woo. And as you mentioned, I'm a buffet of psychicness. And I laugh and I think, I'm not a psychic who had dead people chasing her since childhood. Or if I did, I didn't know anything about that, let alone what I would have done with that information. And I learned how to do all this. And now I teach people all over the world how to do it as well.
Yeah, it's so amazing, isn't it? I hear a lot of people in the spiritual world talk about people that were born with these gifts, and I see it differently, and maybe you do as well. I kind of see that maybe they weren't having their gifts suppressed by people around them, or they weren't brought up. I know you're Catholic, is that right? So how do you merge the two, Julie? I know I'm going straight into
Well, yeah, well, people have the misunderstanding that Catholics are not supposed to talk to spirit or talk to dead people or whatever. Well, what do you think prayer is?
what are
Prayer
angels?
is we're
Prayer
talking
is
angels. Prayer. I mean, for heaven's sakes, it's all throughout the Bible. And interestingly enough, too, Lisa, in 2016, the late Pope Francis issued a papal bull. It's kind of like a newsletter to all of his pastors around the world. And he said he wanted them to welcome psychics and healers because they are doing the work of the Holy Spirit.
Wow, wow,
Most people are
that's so
unaware of
good.
that.
Yeah, and
Yeah,
I mean that's the point of us being able to transmute these messages as well and let people
exactly.
know. Yeah, my
And
daughter's
so,
actually quite religious, and as a spiritual teacher, I kind of have an open mind and have learnt through Reiki, but I think ultimately we're all connecting to the same one source, just we have different pathways to that unity consciousness. So I kind of think we honor all different ways that people connect to the faith. And as we mature and as we change, we have to discern for ourselves what resonates as truth, right? And I'm always seeking that truth and what we can let go.
it's
Yeah.
It's throughout every great culture. It's throughout every great religion. It's in our Western medical model. Energy healing is you think about what's the original energy healing in allopathic medicine? Radiology. They're using radiation and they're using sound waves and they're using magnetics to come up with pictures and images outside of the body of stuff inside the body. So all
Yeah.
radiologists are doing energy medicine. And here in America, there are more than 800 hospitals now that have departments of energy healers in the
Really?
in the hospital, and they're working with the doctors and the other medical providers, more than 800 now. And the
That
list
is
is growing
so,
all the time.
oh my gosh, that is so great. And I think traditionally over here in Australia, a lot of the healers have been only in a volunteer capacity, which I think is limiting because when we don't find a way to be reimbursed for the time that we dedicate to the work we're doing, it's hard to be available, right? So are they paid or are they supported in some way to be able to
They're
do that
paid.
work? Oh,
They're
that's
paid. Their
brilliant.
departments,
That's like
hospitals.
music to my ears.
Well, and more American hospitals and their oncology departments have acupuncture
Mm,
departments because once somebody has a chemo treatment, they'll immediately go get acupuncture, and they've found that it really reduces the symptoms
Oh my
from
gosh.
chemo.
Yeah, my dad's just started chemotherapy with acute myeloid leukemia. So, and
I'm
he's
sorry.
he's really resonated. Yeah, thank you. But he considers himself agnostic. So
It's good.
it is, isn't it? But he still has an open mind, a beautiful heart, and he believes in the power of love and just doing the right thing. And it was one of the questions that I actually had for
Well,
you.
tell them about the radiology department, first of all, what I mentioned. The other thing
Yeah.
is, if you think about it, Lisa, what's an EEG? They're measuring brain waves
Codes.
outside of the body. And what's an EKG? They're measuring heart rhythms outside of the body. So all of that is a form of energy medicine. We're just
Mhm.
used to it
Yeah.
because it's
And
in the Western model. And there's a billing code for it, and the regular Western doctors are doing it. I had a doctor who actually who's Canadian, who's a radiologist. His name's John Ryan. We laugh. We say we're probably long ago cousins from the Emerald Isle. And he's the one that pointed out the radiology department. He said, really, it's the original energy medicine in the
Wow.
Western
I've never heard
allopathic
that said before.
model.
And of course, it makes total sense. And I think
Yeah.
I actually had someone come and have a Reiki session with me, and she said she was studying energy medicine in university, but she said the problem is not that the energy healing doesn't work, it's that they don't have the right scientific tools to measure it. So they're looking at wanting evidence, but they're using a different mode that can't receive it. So it's like, we have the anecdotal evidence, we know it works, we see it, we see people change, we know in the power of people healing their own bodies. But it's almost like, and I think quantum physics is now starting to bring in ways that we can actually quantify it and
Mhm.
measure, because there is that, I understand the need for some certainty around energy healing. We don't really get the certainty, do we? We have to kind of just
Actually,
trust.
Actually, the studies have been done and they've been published here in America. The University of Texas Cancer Center, the MD Anderson Cancer Center in Houston, Texas, has brought in energy healers and had them work on cells in the lab, and they can measure what the frequency is that they're sending, and they can also measure the outcome and how those cells heal, whereas the other cells that don't have energy medicine haven't. Johns Hopkins in Maryland is doing similar research, shows Mayo Clinic, UCLA. A lot of them over here are doing that research because more and more patients are going to healers, energy medicine healers, as an adjunct to their regular Western and Eastern medicine as part of the healing
As a
equation.
complementary. Yeah, I
Mhm.
love that. Not as an
Complementary,
alternative, but
absolutely. Yeah,
complements the medicine.
yeah.
Yeah, because my husband had AML as well when 20 years ago, and had he not have had chemotherapy, he wouldn't be here, and he's 20 years in remission. So we know it saved his life, as well as we worked with energy healing because, we worked with Reiki and the power of the mind, visualizing his body, getting well. We would ask questions of the pharmacy, like, what's this medicine do? And then we'd put it into like a funny caricature, and we'd imagine it going in and just growing a fertilizer in his body and healing it. And he saw chemotherapy as medicine. He didn't see it as a toxic chemical. He saw it as medicine. And that powerful change in the way you communicate to the body, I think has helped his body to not have very many side effects when he went through his treatment. And he never battled cancer. He talks about he accepted and went with the flow of what was happening and really just broke it down to day by day. And his it really changed his life, changed everything that he was doing, made big decisions, which I think is what happens when we get into a healing crisis.
May I make a suggestion for him to consider?
Mm,
Instead of saying he's been in remission for 20 years, say he's been cancer free for 20 years.
yeah,
Because
that's
remission is, oh God, it may come back. If you or I had the same test, they would tell us we're cancer free.
yeah.
just since
Yeah.
he's had it, they would say, well,
Yeah.
you've been in remission for 20 years. So for my clients, what I suggest is you change the verbiage because it goes along with what you were just talking about. The brain hears, I'm cancer free. Not that
Yeah.
I'm in remission and oh my God, I got to go get scanned every 6 months to see if it's coming back. And there's that fear, which the
Mm.
fear causes the stress hormones to be released, which causes inflammation.
Oh,
So cancer free is a really good way to talk about it and think about it.
oh, yeah, thank you for that. That was my
Mhm.
slip of the tongue because he has actually been given a letter of cure. So they've said that he's actually
Perfect.
cured.
Perfect.
It does make a big difference, doesn't it? The power of our words. So thank you for that. So tell me a little bit more about your work and I know that when you were doing your energy healing and how you transmit it, is there, yeah, anything you'd love to share about how
Sure.
that works? Yeah.
Sure. The buffet of Psychicness came about because I was interested in energy healing and I had never heard the term medical intuitive before. I thought, well, what the heck is that? And
Mm.
I'd been in the hospital supply industry at that point for quite a while, designing, manufacturing, selling, marketing, all of that, surgical devices. So I was helping people heal, but having them go through their surgeon or their physicians or their medical providers. And it piqued my curiosity when I heard medical intuitive. And so I started studying with a woman who was a medical intuitive and an energy healer. And what I realized, Lisa, was once we connect with spirit, we can do it all. We
Yeah.
can talk to your dead grandma. I can scan your cat. We can scan you. We can do past lives. We can talk to your angels, your spirit guides, do remote viewing, whatever. That's what
Mm.
I call the buffet of psychicness. And in this industry, woo means source in Taoism. And I think the word woo woo is fun. And
Mm.
it's supposed to be
I do too.
joyful for us.
Mm.
And what I find is that once we connect into spirit, we can do it all. And the fact that you got the healers and the psychics and the mediums and the pet psychics and the past life people and the Akashic Records people and why? Once you connect with spirit, you can do it all. So I am like a human MRI. When I get somebody on my radar, it's as if I'm looking at an X-ray or a CT scan or an MRI. I can see inside their body in my mind's eye with their permission, of course. I don't ever scan anybody without their permission. And I can see broken bones, torn ligaments, viral infections, bacterial infections, cancer, metastasized cancer, whatever. And then immediately after something's identified, there will be an energetic healing that will immediately begin. And that can take the form of something getting added, something getting removed. I watch procedures all the time in my mind's eye that emulate what I saw in surgery for all those decades, developing new products, testing prototypes, being with my reps while they were training surgeons, things like that. Sometimes I see healings that utilize methodologies and devices that haven't been invented yet. And
Wow,
regardless of what
off-world
I'm
beings and those
seeing,
kind. Yeah,
right?
I've heard about a lot of
Yeah.
technology coming through
Mhm.
energetically.
Mhm.
Yeah, that's
Well,
very
and I didn't know anything about woo woo when I invented my surgical devices. I learned it probably 10 years after my first device hit the market.
wow.
So
It's almost
maybe
like you've
maybe
had
not
a
quite 10.
perfect training ground for the work that you're
Exactly.
doing, right? I find that a lot
Yes.
with clients when I work with them. They might be beginning within the modality, but it's like you bring your whole life experience to what it is you do and how you help people. It's all part of that, yeah, how we
Yeah.
communicate. Oh, it's so exciting. So, and so the power of the imagination, I would guess, plays a lot in that you're very visual in what you're seeing and working with that. And one of the things I come across when I'm teaching students how to connect and trust that intuition is that there's a self-doubt that comes up quite often. We know that the mind has that inner critic that is always kind of coming up and sometimes when the messages come easily, because I think you and I have the same belief in that regard, we're born with an ability to connect and to commune with spirit. But when it becomes easy, it's like it's easy also to dismiss it or just to think it's just my thoughts or it's just my imagination. How do you get around that, or how do you teach your students to kind of work with that part of the mind, that the human aspect that gets in the way and creates
Mhm.
doubt?
Spirit uses our imagination
Mhm.
in the healings, in the work that we do, spirit working through me and with me, spirit working through you and with you to help the person heal themselves. So imagination is key. And people say, well, how do I know it's real versus it's my imagination? It's all the same thing.
What's the difference? Yeah.
Spirit's using your imagination. And what I have come to realize over the years is spirit will give us a visual. In my case, they'll give me a visual like your left elbow looks like it has whipped cream on it. And we think, okay, that's weird. Yeah, but we can all
Love it.
envision that. They're going to give us a description that's going to be familiar to us from our human frame of reference. And when we picture it in our mind's eye, embedded in that image is the healing of the frequency of the healing. And
Mm.
when the person pictures it, it helps integrate that healing into their body. So on my show and with clients, you'll hear me say, okay, imagine your left arm is covered in whipped cream. And that, like, that's kind of hard not to imagine when somebody says that.
Yeah.
You're
Yeah.
you're not
Yeah.
going to be thinking
You just
about
heard
blue
you say,
sky.
don't think
Right,
of a
right.
pink elephant. What's the first thing that happens?
Exactly. Exactly.
Right.
And early on, Lisa, I thought, oh my God, I sound like such a nut job. And what I've come to realize over all these years is it's a way that spirit is giving us the information that we need to envision or feel or sense or whatever to help integrate the healing into the body. What
Mm.
I have realized too is that our heads are like big satellite dishes and they receive and they transmit frequencies. Every spirit has a frequency they keep throughout all their lifetimes, and every thought has a frequency as well. And spirit communication is in numbers, it's numerical because math is a universal language. So our heads, our brains act like big decoders. That information that our satellite dish head is receiving is coming into our brain in the form of numbers. Think of computer code. You see all
Mm-hmm.
those numbers on all those
Mm. I'm
lines
just
of
visualizing it
numbers?
all now, like data.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so our brains are basically decoding or translating that code into visuals and senses and things like that for us to describe. And it's really fascinating to me the visuals that come up, the sensations. Okay. Imagine it feels like velvet. Imagine it smells like wet dog, whatever.
Fascinating, isn't it? That
Get
that we
information.
yeah, I was doing the same thing, and I find spirit keeps leading me to the way that I do my healing kind of organically and with an element of play. And I must admit that when I would initially hear the person's problem, I would, we'd have that communication at the beginning, what's brought you here. Then as soon as we get them on the table to receive the Reiki, it's almost like I'm able then to switch gears into spirit and ask for a solution to the problem. So as I would feel heat or inflammation, I'd naturally bring through water or exactly like you'd say, I'd see toothpaste that would be all white and gooey, but I never told anyone. So
I know
I
it's
would have an
embarrassing.
absolute blast
Mhm.
because I would literally have someone come in with all this dark, stuck energy, which I saw as I'd get excited because now my role became how do I play with that and transmute it? And so it was almost like with spirit's help, it would literally, I remember once seeing a whole wall sprayed with the most beautiful colors, and it was spirit being creative with how they were helping the client to release it. That's my projection over to them, and their body will receive it. But I think the healing, the power of it, if they're actually their cells are hearing their voice, they're going to receive the healing a lot more. And I feel like it has because all healing self-healing, right? So if they're visualizing what I'm seeing and we're doing it together and they're able to continue that visualization themselves, the body's just going to listen to their consciousness, right? More so than what a healer can project in a temporary situation. So it's so much more empowering to verbalize it. So I think it does take a little bit of courage to be a bit silly or to just say things that we think, oh my God, they're going to think I'm crazy. And yet you're a very intelligent, strong businesswoman with a great background. And I think I do the hybrid of both as well, very logical and analytical and good with business. And I think the two pair really well, don't they? So I love
Mhm.
that. And you're just being yourself. It's endearing, right? When you just get to give yourself permission to play and to have fun.
Absolutely. And it's rare. It's usually my husband. He's the only one who lives with me still. Our son is grown and
Mm.
his children are all grown. And he's the only one I might zap on in person, but everything else is remote. I laugh. I say I could find you if you were in a galaxy far, far away because
That's
it
so
doesn't matter. We're playing in the plasma field and distance and time are irrelevant.
when I had to take my first attunements online, and because I was doing all my workshops in person and then moving to that online experience, my guide just kept saying, "Love knows no bounds. Love knows no bounds."
Good
And
point.
so the attunement just happened beautifully and it just integrated. So I think it's, yeah, I think it's a powerful place to be able to reach people and transmit energy across time and space, and knowing that
Right.
the body naturally wants to move into a healing state, doesn't it? So, in your experience, what role would you say that your intuition and your connection to spirit plays in terms of how you facilitate and run your business now? And I know you teach workshops and have students. How does it help you with business? Have you been feeling called to learn Reiki? Not just to channel powerful healing energy, but also to awaken your intuition in the process. Now it's easier than ever. After 22 years of teaching Reiki in person, I've created a high quality online training experience that gives you lifetime access to become a certified and accredited intuitive Reiki healer. Through Intuitive Reiki International, you'll gain the skills to step into a rewarding new career. Plus, you'll connect with a thriving community of like minded healers and make a real difference in people's lives. If you feel the calling, don't wait. The time is now to embrace your passion and start your Reiki journey. Visit intuitivereiki.online to get started today.
If I have a question on something I ask, is it in my best interest to dot, 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 finish the sentence? And when I first was being asked to teach the world what happens when somebody dies, and that's what's in my free book, we can talk
Oh,
about
tell us
that
about
later.
that. Yeah.
I had a dead Pope spirit come in the room. I was with my mentor. She was doing a healing on me, and he had his Pope hat on and his shepherd's rod and the whole 9 yards. And she could see him too, my Susan. And I said, "Well, who are you?" And he said, "I'm Clement." And I said, "Okay, I never heard of a Pope Clement." And he laughed and he said, "I was number 6." And I said,
Wow.
"Great. How may I help you?" And I'm thinking, why is this guy here? Why is this spirit here? And he said, "Well, you need to teach the world what happens when somebody dies because people are so afraid
Yeah.
they're going to go burn for eternity." And he said, "That's nonsense. And you've
And he
helped so
laughed.
many people when they've passed." And he said, "So you just you need to get on with it and just teach everybody what happens when somebody dies." And I laughed, Lisa, and I said, "Well, thank you so much for your suggestion. But you see, I'm a businesswoman.
Yeah.
And if
No,
I do
thank
that,
you.
people will think I'm nuts, so I'm not interested."
Yeah.
And he said, he laughed and he said, "Yeah, yeah, yeah, yeah. Everything you've done in business has prepared you for this. So you just need to get on with it." And then he laughed. And about 15 minutes later, I was in my car and I was getting ready to drive home. And just for kicks on my phone, I looked up Pope Clement the Sixth. Well, come to find out, this guy was in office during the Black Plague when two-thirds of Europe died, and he's best known for his prayers for the dying and his prayers for the dead. And I thought, okay, Ryan, you can't make that up.
No, no, especially, yeah, that's when the more we experience and just go with the connecting, the more we have those kind of, yeah, I call it hits where it's undeniable, or there's stuff that we know that we can't possibly
Right.
have known. And I teach my students to go in with curiosity and play. And that sounds exactly what you did. You're like, "Oh, hello, what are you here for?" How,
Yeah.
I
How
can
may I
see
help
you, you're
you?
here. How can I help
Yeah.
you? And
Yeah.
isn't it the one thing that I noticed that you've said when you talk about the buffet, I keep trying to pigeonhole myself into, okay, there's psychic mediumship, there's channeling, there's whenever I say, okay, I'm not a medium, I don't do mediumship, I will have someone come in that needs to connect with a loved one. And I'm just like, okay, I surrender.
You're being a
How am I
medium
here?
when you're getting those divine downloads. of
Yeah.
what's going on with the person when you're doing a healing on them. And I always go in blind first when I'm working with a client. I don't have time to do it on my show because we're trying to get as many people on as we can in an hour from our YouTube live stream and also from the call in on the Zoom side of the equation. And
Okay.
if I have a client for an hour, or I have 5 graduates that work with me, and
Hmm.
they are all wonderful,
Yeah.
and we will go in blind first. And I do that, Lisa, because I want to see where the energy is going to go, because it's always going to go to the most needed area first, even if it's asymptomatic. And
Hmm.
perhaps we're heading off a problem at the pass. And
Yeah.
so I'll do that. And then I'll have a list of what they've got going on. So something will be identified, they'll be healing. Something else will be identified, they'll be healing. And I'll go down their list just from a time management standpoint. And
Mm.
we can talk to deceased loved ones, we can talk about their pets, we can do past lives, we can do whatever they want to do in addition to the healing, because we'll have an hour together. And we cram a lot together in that hour.
Incredible what you can do when you work with spirit, isn't it? It kind of fast track
Yes.
things. Yeah.
Yeah.
It leads me to another question that I just had come up and it's gone out of my head. Don't you love
Oh.
that?
Well, back
Um,
to the buffet of psychicness, you'd
yeah,
asked me
yeah.
about that. I think I was told early on, well, you got to choose a lane. Do you want to be a medium or a psychic? Back to what you were just saying a couple minutes ago. And I said, why? And I
Mm.
heard, well, because that's just the way it is. Well, I'm an entrepreneur.
Yeah,
If
same.
you tell me I got to do
Push.
something a certain way, I'm gonna
I'm like
say,
going to go the opposite. Yeah, I did the
I'm
same with intuitive Reiki. It's like, why can't it be spirit communication with healing? Why is Reiki just passive and not talking through and communicating and connecting? So yeah, I developed a different style because and I've had people say Reiki's passive. I'm like, says who? It's not passive in my rooms, it's not passive in my
right.
sessions.
Yeah,
Um,
yeah.
yeah,
So as an
yeah.
entrepreneur, I'm just naturally gonna do what makes the most sense and what works the best, what's the most efficient, what's gonna
Mhm.
give us the best outcome. I don't care what the rules are. I don't care what somebody's done ahead of me. I'm gonna do it my own way.
You're
And
an
that's what I
innovator.
teach in my classes is here's how I do it. We're gonna figure out what's the best way for it to come in for you, because each one of us has our own personal goulash, if you will, of the classes we've taken, our life experiences, things like that. And then they add to it not so much the techniques, but the frequency that's being
Mm.
transmitted from me to my students, whether it be online or whether it be in person. My next in person class is in Atlanta, Georgia in the fall, in October, the weekend
Wish I could
before
just
Halloween. I've had students come in from Australia into the Atlanta airport. It's the busiest airport in the world.
wow.
Anybody can get there. But but it's not so much about the techniques,
Mm.
it's more about the transfer of energy at a super high vibe where
Yeah.
I play to my
Mm.
students, and then we help them figure out what's the most efficient, easiest way for them to work with spirit, because everybody's different, to
Mm.
your point a couple of
Mm.
minutes ago.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
it's
And
all
it's powerful,
perfect.
isn't it, to own
All
that
perfect.
unique
Yeah.
frequency, but also not to limit ourselves as to what we can have our ideas as to what we want to create and achieve, but then saying to spirit this or something better. So we're open to infinite possibility as to how we can work. I kind of sit in a frequency where there's a part of me that just wants to check in and fit in, and a part of me that just is liberated and just wants to be a bit of a rebel and break some of those boundaries that keep us limited, right?
I think the key too, Lisa, is go where you're led. And if something feels loving and kind and healing, go for it. If something feels negative, that's your fear coming into play, and spirit's not going to work through you anyways. So you can't do any harm because spirit's pure love. And
Mm.
so spirit's only going to transmit positive energy. People are worried about that they're going to do some kind of harm or damage to their clients. I'll say it's not possible because all
Not
spirit's pure love. Spirit's not going to do something that's going to be detrimental to a person. It's not going to happen. So just give up that worry. It's just a
yeah.
total waste of time.
Yeah, couldn't agree more with you, Julie. Absolutely. I'd love to give the listeners a practical experience of how you might connect in and check in. Like, do you do a body check when you want to ask spirit, is this the right path? You said before that you check in all the time when you're making business decisions or life decisions. Is there a particular way that you do that, or could you describe the process, an example of what you might do?
I don't even call in any spirit in particular. It's just a God, the universe, the whole nine yards, my spirit guides, my angels, all of them, my deceased loved ones. And I'll normally preface it with, is it in my best interest to dot
Mhm.
dot dot fill in the blank? Is it in my best interest? We're releasing a Ask Julie Ryan phone app here soon. Is it in my best interest to develop and release an Ask Julie Ryan phone app to help serve people better? That was early on. Yes, I was being led. I'll have ideas come into my head and then I'll say, is it in my best interest to? Or is it in my best interest to take the highway or the surface streets to get to this place? Certainly we have GPS, but sometimes GPS is wrong.
Oh, yeah, I can send
Oh,
you up a wild goose chase.
that's right, sometimes. And
Yeah.
so I'll ask
Mm.
that, is it in my best interest to go visit? I'm going to go see one of my best girlfriends this weekend on the other side of the country because her mother is 95 years old and I go see the mother and my friend.
Mm.
I see my friend more than that, but I go see her mom at least once a year and I'm led to do that. So is it in my best interest to go visit them? We've been friends since we were 10. And my friend's mom is the last one of all of the friend group's moms,
Mm.
and she was my role model for motherhood. So it's just a matter of, is it in my best interest too? Because future events have a bazillion variables that can affect an outcome. And
Yeah.
I've found over the years by prefacing a question when I'm looking for guidance with, is it in my best interest to, it takes into account all of those potential variables, which are
Many
vast
things. Yeah.
because free
Yeah.
will comes into play.
Yeah.
And we think things are set in stone. No, they're not. A very basic script is set of what we want to explore and experience, but there are a bazillion ways to explore and experience it. And they're ever
No
changing,
choice. Yeah.
as well as every other person or situation with whom we're interacting is changing as well.
Mm.
And so when somebody says, well, can you tell me, is this going to happen? And I'll say, well, I can tell you what I'm getting at this moment in time with the caveat of it's a future event and future events are fluid. It may be different in an hour. It may be different next week, next month, next year. All I can give you is what I'm getting as an answer right now.
Yeah, it's so amazing. And I had these questions prepared and I just quickly read over one of them and you've already answered it. And
Oh,
you know how I said I forgot the question or what that popped into my head that I wanted to ask? I remembered it now. So, and I've seen this happen with you on your YouTube channel where you do like fast readings for people, healings and readings. And one of the things you say is that quite often by just watching the YouTube channel, whatever issue is happening within someone, I heard like a liver cleanse one, and I'm just like, oh, I took it into my body and I recognized that I could utilize that as well because I have fatty liver. So it was just, and the same thing happens in my channeling events where people will get the answer that they're thinking of before, and it's like this collective energy. And I love the way spirit works like that.
well, when I'm doing a healing on somebody out of the callers who called in, and again, they can ask about a multitude of things. It's not just healing, a lot of healing,
Mm,
because people have been to multiple doctors, gotten multiple diagnoses, perhaps multiple treatment recommendations, and they still have the same symptoms. And
yeah.
so, kind of as a last ditch effort, they're calling in to the show and they're saying, "Hey, can you scan me and see what the heck is going on?" And
Yeah.
I will always say to anybody that's joining us on the live stream or somebody that's listening to the podcast on any of the podcast networks or on YouTube at a later date, I want you to envision what I'm describing too as this healing's happening for Lisa, because it's similar to the power of prayer. We're all sending energy to
Mm.
Lisa to help her heal. And there's lots of research. I've had Lynn McTaggart on the show a
Oh, I
couple of
love Lynn.
times.
I followed her 20 years ago when I was doing the research. I loved that interview. Highly recommend. We'll drop the link to it below as well.
Yeah.
Yeah, her
The
body of work's
power
amazing.
the
Yeah.
power of eight group. She
Yeah.
has eight different people in a group, and they'll focus on making seeds grow faster on the other side of the world. And the scientists will
Oh,
notice that the seeds grow faster when they're focused on it. So
yeah.
I do that, and then I've lost count of how many people have written emails, or if they call in, they'll tell me that I was listening to your show and you mentioned liver cleanse. Excuse me, and you did a liver healing on somebody, and I was having the same problems. And then the next morning I woke up and I didn't have them anymore. So by listening and envisioning the healing, that healing frequency went into their body as well
Yeah.
as the person with whom I was talking. And the other thing that I like to mention a lot, Lisa, is it doesn't matter if you're listening to this in real time or you're listening to it 5 years from now, because time doesn't exist in the spirit world. Time's a human creation.
Find it when you
And
need it, don't you?
it
At the
doesn't
perfect
matter.
time.
Yeah, it doesn't matter.
Well, I just want to say thank you from the world for the incredible work that you're doing. And I'm so glad that we've had a chance to have a conversation here because the more people that can find you and your work, the better the world will be. And I think the world really does need more light workers standing up and just helping. We're recalibrating light on the planet, and we're doing it collectively. So any inspiration that I've certainly gotten from you will impact the people that I help. And it, kind of just, I do see this just beautiful ripple effect of more happy humans loving each other, connecting and healing. And can there be anything better than that? So thank you, Julie. You're
Sure.
amazing.
It's my honor and my pleasure. And the bottom line with all of this is the work that you do, the work that I do, the work that a medical provider does, a work that acupuncturist or homeopath or herbalist, we're all part of the healing equation and helping the person heal themselves. Because
Yes.
nobody ever heals anybody else.
Yeah.
If you have a big cut on your leg and you go to the hospital, they're going to stitch it up, but that doctor doesn't make your skin grow back. You make your own skin grow back. And that's what
Mm.
we do. We're just all part of the healing equation.
Yeah, I love that. You mentioned that there was a free gift for,
Free book. Yes.
yeah.
Angelic attendance. I feel like a game show hostess holding it up.
Ooh.
Angelic attendance, what really happens as we transition from this life into the next, is my first book. And it talks about how, Lisa, how we're all surrounded by angels and the spirits of deceased loved ones and pets as we're transitioning. And it has illustrations in it that show how the angels and the loved ones are positioned. Anybody that wants a free copy, if you've ever lost a loved one, if you ever think you will, duh, we all will. If you
We
ever
all
think you're
will.
going to be there in at one point in your life, which we all will as well, nobody
Mhm.
escapes it. You want to read this because this is what Pope Clement came in and said, you got to teach the world what's happening because people are so afraid. He said
Yeah.
it's been bastardized over the millennia and
Yep.
it's
Absolutely.
nonsense. It's
And it's beautiful.
glorious.
We need to look at it
Beautiful.
and celebrate it like we do birth, right? It's a beautiful transition. I have read the book. I actually read it on the plane and I couldn't put it
Oh,
down. So thank you. And yeah, I highly recommend you grab a copy of that book. And what a generous offer to give it away for free.
anybody
Thank
that wants a free copy, just go to askjulieryan.com. And on the
you.
homepage, you'll see a button, send me a free book. And we have digital and audiobook for free, and we have it in Spanish as well
Oh,
as
wow.
English. And we're putting more languages, getting more languages translated as well. You can buy the paperback on Amazon, but the digital and the audiobook download, and then share it with your family and friends
Yeah.
because everybody who has had a loss relates to this. And if you read just the Amazon reviews, there are more than 600 now, Lisa, and
Right.
they say things like, oh my gosh, I wish I would have known this before my grandmother died. Oh my gosh, this has been so helpful in helping my husband. get through the last days of his life. And it brings me so much peace and it explains so much. And the interesting thing about this is there's university-based research that shows that 90% of people at the end of their lives see the spirits of deceased loved ones and pets. 90%.
Yeah, it doesn't
So
surprise me at all. Yeah.
I love it when science catches up with woo-woo because woo-woo's
Yeah, I
been
know.
around a
It's
lot
always like,
longer.
oh, thank goodness.
Yeah,
Finally.
exactly.
Ah,
Yeah.
beautiful. And your YouTube channel, what's the YouTube address?
Everything's Ask Julie Ryan. AskJulieRyan.com, Ask Julie Ryan on all the socials, Ask Julie Ryan on YouTube. Everything's Ask Julie Ryan. So if you just Google at Julie
We'll,
Ryan, it'll all come
we'll
up.
go and ask Julie Ryan and we'll be there.
Ask Julie Ryan. That's
Thank
right.
you
And
once
the
again.
show, I have a lot of people call in from Australia,
To you.
which is
Excellent.
so much fun. And I'll always say, "Oh my gosh, we get to talk to you real time in the future," which is what you and I are
And we're
doing
in your
because it's
future.
yeah, you are part of my future.
We are.
And it's really fun. So we do the call-in show on Thursday nights, US time at 8 Eastern, and then we have interview shows as well that we release. But the call-in show on Thursday nights is just a ball, isn't it fun?
Love it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
High energy, fun. We're laughing, I'm giving stuff
Yeah.
away. Yeah,
Yeah, it's
it's fun.
beautiful. Well, thank you once again and look forward to joining your YouTube channel and now that we've met and connected, it's going to be a continued thing. So thank you, Julie.
Exactly. Thank you. Bye, everybody.
Bye. I just wanted to say thanks for listening today. We know there are a lot of podcasts out there, and you took time out of your day to dive into this episode, and I want to say thank you so much. If you'd like to learn how to become a powerful psychic healer and spiritual teacher, head on over to intuitivereiki.online and you can get started by taking my free quiz and discover your unique psychic gifts. Plus, there's heaps of course information and you'll access a really great bunch of really helpful tools to support you on your path. We really want to see you build a soul-led practice that creates abundance, builds confidence, and the freedom to serve in the way you were born to. Remember, the world needs your powerful and unique teaching. I'll see you in the next episode.